Welcome to Messages from the Universe with Lori Wondra. Lori is an internationally renowned psychic medium, author, and shamanic practitioner, sharing insights from angels, guides, wisdom keepers, and teachers of the universe that help you navigate life's mysteries and transformations.
Hello, I am Lori Wondra, and thank you for listening. Boy, it has been so chaotic and scary and ungrounded in my community. And so Spirit wants me to talk about the world as a chaotic presence and how stress moves through the body, our energy fields, and our soul, and how that connection we have with community and with the globe and with the universe is impacted. But I also want to share today what some of the ascended masters have to say about this and this time. There are seasons, both personal and collective, when the world feels unstable, feels loud and unpredictable. News cycles accelerate. Social tension arises. Personal lives feel uncertain, and the ground beneath our feet no longer feels solid. Many of you know I'm in the United States, in Minnesota. I'm outside of the Minneapolis area, but it's still impacting those that are very near and dear and close to me. It continues to feel unstable. And there are others in the world that have felt this level of instability before now. For some in this lifetime. For some, this is a new experience. Some individuals, communities, countries have evolved. Others are still evolving. And we all carry deep wounds. We have ancestral wounds. We have DNA wounds. We have past lifetime wounds. And we're working on healing those. And the difference lies in how those wounds are becoming understood, or how we're healing them, or how we're transforming them. That difference shapes our vibration. And I've been looking at people's energy now for this lifetime. And most recently, in this chaotic state, how is it impacting our energy fields? Why is this happening in certain places? These are all questions I constantly ponder, because when we struggle to comprehend how others can act with such inhumanity, with such hatred or disregard for the core of humanness, it's often rooted in fear of losing power or control, fear of stepping outside inherited structures, fear of not aligning with where authority appears to reside. It's related to power, and it reflects a disconnection from the heart and from our shared humanity, a separation from timelines of love, connection, collaboration, peace, and equality. Other ways of being exist, but when the lens through which someone sees the world has not shifted, those possibilities remain unseen. I marvel at how communities are coming together. Why, it's been minus 40 wind chill in some days, and how people are gathering in masses to peacefully protest and to help our communities. These are people that have also been wronged in past lifetimes, that they're triggered in this and want to make change in this lifetime. Those are souls that also signed up to make changes in this lifetime, so we don't repeat wounds and harm that have been created in the past. These are souls that are listening to the calling of their mission, be out on the front line, or maybe they're helping behind the front line in delivering groceries or helping get kids to school or watching. They're being called, but they're also being triggered because these are wounds from our past. 7 generations, and in some more generations, that are being called to the surface to be healed, so that we can have a better, brighter, more loving future. And some of us may never fully understand the frequency others live within, because we no longer are in that frequency. You have evolved. If you don't understand, you have evolved. Yet the soul remembers why we are here, to elevate where we can, to anchor higher frequencies, and to bring more love, peace, kindness, compassion, equality, and humanity into the world. Not just in one community, but remember, we are all connected. Energy is energy, and it's everywhere and it's everything. So if one community is impacted or feeling this, all communities, all humanity are feeling this. It's a wave of energy that moves through us and around the globe. When faced with lower frequency behavior, people attempt to think their way through the discomfort, believing stress exists only in the mind. But stress is not a thought problem. It's a whole system experience. It moves through the nervous system and organs, through the emotional and mental fields, through the energy body, and eventually into our spiritual connection itself. We're plugged into source. We can't become unplugged. We might feel like we've lost our path or feel that we're not connected, but we are. And understanding this is not about diagnosing ourselves. It's about reclaiming compassion for the body, for the energy field, and the soul as they respond to perceived threat, to uncertainty and collective upheaval. I am so sad about what's happening in our state, across our country, and across the globe, and the division that is more present across the globe. It hurts my heart. And I'm always asking what, when, why, how, who. And I've been calling on some of my favorite ascended masters, El Morey, Lord Lanto, Lady Nada, Hilarion, and Saint Germain. What you're sensing, they say, isn't confusion of the heart. It's incompatibility of frequency, because we're energy. So as I call on El Morey, the keeper of divine will, goodwill, faith, and the right use of power, to guide our leaders, the stewards of nations, and those entrusted with authority, asking that courage be purified into wisdom and power be restored to service rather than domination. And I called upon Lord Lanton, the guardian of the golden ray of wisdom, understanding discernment and right judgment, asking that teachers and educators and philosophers and those shaping the minds remember truth beyond ideology and awaken to higher knowing. And I call upon Hilarion, one of my favorite ascended masters. He's the bearer of the emerald ray of truth, vision, science, healing, and abundance, asking that clarity return where confusion has been sown. May those in service, the scientists, the healers, the leaders, the caregivers, the seekers, that they be strengthened in integrity and insight. And I call upon Lady Nada, embodiment of peace, service, compassion, and sacred brotherhood, asking that the heart of humanity soften again, and we plug in brighter. We open up that channel, remembering our kinship over division and love over fear for all humanity across the globe. And I call upon Saint Germain, the keeper of the violet flame, the seventh ray of freedom, the alchemy, justice, diplomacy, and transmutation, asking that suffering be transformed, injustice released, and miracles of awakening unfold where despair once lived. And lastly, I call upon the team, Sanat Kumara, universal Christed presence, the higher councils of the universe, God source, Ashtar, and all benevolent intelligences aligned with the highest good of humanity. I ask that they bring forth universal love, integration, remembrance, and the ray of highest service for all beings, no matter where you are in the globe. I ask that they help heal what has been fractured, that they help weave back in what has been broken, what has been silenced, help them find voice, and what has been forgotten be remembered. And then I sat back and the response was profound. Those who are living from their light cannot cognitively map the behavior of consciousness that has severed itself from the human spirit. It feels incomprehensible because it is, not morally but energetically. When light becomes embodied, it naturally honors life, dignity, compassion, and rationale presence. When darkness moves, it does not seek understanding, it seeks extinction of resonance. And what we are witnessing is not merely cruelty or chaos, it is fear of illumination. Light exposes truth without effort. It reveals distortion simply by existing. And when darkness cannot evolve, it attempts to silence, to numb, to divide, to dehumanize and exhaust those who still feel, still care, and still remember. That's why those anchored in light feel such incredible grief, incredible disbelief, and soul-level fatigue rather than hatred. Your nervous system and soul are wired for coherence, for connection, and reverence for life. To watch the human spirit be dismissed, exploited, or erased feels like watching something sacred be violated, because it is. And yet, this is the paradox. Darkness only becomes visible because light is now strong enough to illuminate it. Humanity is not losing its light, it's remembering it, and it's remembering it loudly. That remembrance destabilizes systems built on disconnection. Those who live their light are not meant to understand this disconnection. They're meant to hold the frequency that makes reconnection possible through presence, through truth, through compassion, boundaries, and refusal to dim their light. Your awareness is not weakness. Your grief is not naivety. Your inability to reconcile inhumanity with humanity is evidence that your light is intact, and it matters now more than ever. Those statements are so powerful. Our earth experience contains stress, and we have to remember that stress is a biological intelligence. It's not a weakness. We have to remember how strong our light is and that we have choice and decision, and our power lies within those remembering our light. When we encounter change that feels overwhelming or unpredictable or outside our control, the body does not pause to ask whether the threat is emotional, social, financial, or existential. It responds as if survival is at stake. This is the sympathetic nerve system activating. It's an automatic. It's deeply embedded within our system to keep us alive. And as described by Joe Dispenza, the moment the body perceives danger, it mobilizes massive energy. Our pupils dilate to increase visual awareness. Our heart rate and respiration increase to prepare for movement. Our glucose floods the bloodstream to fuel our muscles. Blood flow shifts away from digestion, immunity repair, and long-term physical repair. Our adrenaline, our cortisol surges to heighten alertness and speed. And at the same time, circulation moves away from the forebrain, the seat of creativity and empathy and future-oriented thinking, and it moves into the hindbrain, where instinct and reflex dominate. This is why stress narrows our perception. It's not a failure of intelligence. It is the body prioritizing immediate survival over imagination. The problem arises when the stressor does not end, or when we continue to replay it internally, or we continue to watch or listen on social media or newscasts or in discussions. When we continue to loop in the stress factor, it remains in our field. So in chronic stress, the body never gets the all-clear message. When worry or fear or anticipation continue to loop in the mind, the body remains chemically convinced that danger is still present, and that stress response stays activated long past its usefulness. And over time, this creates this state of eternal exhaustion that shows up in a very physical way. Difficulty falling or staying asleep, anxiety, nervousness, or constant sense of vigilance, digestive disruption, inflammation, and gut imbalance, hormonal dysregulation or adrenal depletion, lowered immune resilience, muscle tension, nerve pain, and unexplained fatigue. The behaviors we might have for coping in this situation, overworking, numbing, avoidance, overstimulation, continue to drive down the fatigue. The body's not breaking down. It's signaling that it's been living in emergency mode for way too long. And we're tired. We're tired of being in this state of chaos and stress. We feel it. We are aware. We are awake to it. We understand we don't deserve nor want or can continue to live under this energy. It erodes us. The physical body is only the most visible layer, but we've got our etheric body, our emotional body, our mental body, and our spiritual body, and all those boundaries begin to erode. The etheric body is that energetic layer closest to our physical form, and it acts as the interface between self and the world. It helps regulate energetic boundaries and provides the body with information about safety, separation, and containment. So under prolonged stress, this layer becomes compromised. Energetically, it might be thin, tear, or develop areas of depletion. I see people with holes in this area of their energy field. And that's where we begin absorbing other people's emotions or stress. We're feeling raw or exposed or energetically unprotected. We have difficulty distinguishing between my feelings and others' feelings, and the chronic overwhelm without a clear source continues to overwhelm and deplete us. And as this layer destabilizes, the chakra system often slows down or partially shuts down in an attempt to conserve energy. This is not dysfunction. It's self-preservation. However, when this state persists, people often feel as though they're taking on everything, carrying the collective weight that was never meant to be theirs. And when that is completely worn and flattened, we have no separation between the physical and the emotional body. The area of space that holds our feelings, our emotional memory, and the capacity to connect with others. It's where joy and grief and love and fear and longing all coexist. And under sustained stress, this layer shifts into survival mode. And for some, emotions intensify because you don't have that layer of protection, and it spills out into waves of anxiety, irritability, grief, or despair. And for others, the emotional field flattens entirely, where we feel numb because numbness becomes safer than feeling. And a common protective response is emotional withdrawal. We disconnect from people, reduce vulnerability, and retreat inward, not because we don't care, but because the system cannot metabolize any more output. This is also the layer from which manifestation flows. And when it collapses or retreats, life can feel stalled, heavy, or devoid of meaning. Creativity dries up, motivation disappears, and nothing feels worth reaching for. But eventually the universe intervenes through discomfort, synchronicity, or disruption. And that's the invitation from the universe to plug back in, to reconnect. And we are seeing that right now in our communities, where people are going out in minus 40 degrees wind chill, bundled up, marching peacefully in communities to be seen, to be heard, to show their community power, to understand that together we are powerful. We aren't going to hide. This is love coming out and through us, and the evolution of understanding how important it is to be part of a healthy community. And the mental body, when that becomes harmed, our beliefs become a cage. The mental body organizes our thoughts, our beliefs, our perceptions, and our interpretation. It is where ideas are evaluated and possibilities either take root or are dismissed. And in chronic stress, this layer becomes rigid and defensive. Fear infiltrates perception. Doubt becomes habitual, and thinking loops endlessly without resolution. Analysis paralysis replaces inspired action. And this is where we begin to hear or to say, that won't work. I've tried that. Nothing helps. There's no problems. There's no options. We tell stories that hold us in what we perceive as a safe space. But those stories are getting broken up. This is a time for expansion of our mental field, and we're seeing that also. We're seeing the truth come out of where we need to see, hear, and speak. At this point, the universe gives us all sorts of opportunities to shift these mental blocks, to shift our filters, to reset them, to look at them not as a threat, but as a new way of responding. And when the mental body totally closes down, it reinforces the cycles of stress by convincing us that change is impossible. And what we know as humans is that there is only one thing that is certain, and that is change. We are forever changing. And what we are finding now, which is so beautiful, is our voice in this change. We are not going to just accept what has been an old filter or an old story. We are shifting that. And what happens in the spiritual and the astral body? Well, oftentimes this space goes quiet. The spiritual, the astral layer, is the most expansive field of the human energy system. It is where consciousness, soul awareness, purpose, and connection to divine intelligence reside. And when stress permeates all other layers, this field becomes muted. And this is not what the universe or our higher sense of being wants us to be. We are not to become muted. We are not to feel disconnected from our path. We are not to lose trust in life or guidance. We are not to question purpose or meaning, but understand we're here at this time now for something far greater than we might even understand. This is not a time to feel spiritually cut off. This is a time to feel connected and to look for that connection and to ask those questions. Why, what, who, when, where? And remember, the soul does not disappear. The signal is still there. It was simply drowned out over lifetimes of wounds, over lifetimes of stories and patterns. The connection may have weakened, but it wasn't gone. And now as the fields of our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual awaken, these pathways become stronger. Remembering that stress is a signal. It's not a sentence. And when we view stress only as something to eliminate, we miss its deeper message. Stress is information. It is the body and energy field saying, I do not feel safe enough to rest. But the second part of that statement is knowing that, what choices do I have now to shift that? Because healing does not begin by forcing positivity or pushing through or avoiding. It begins by restoring regulation, containment, and coherence. And the way that we find coherence is plugging into your heart, plugging into your community, plugging into your guides, your higher beliefs, whether your belief is in Buddha or God or the universe or angels, whatever that is, plug in. It is really important at this time that we remember to ground. And grounding is not about fixing yourself or calming down on command. It's about sending consistent signals of safety into the nervous system and the energy bodies so they can soften, reorganize, and come back online naturally. Because when the world feels chaotic, small, intentional practices done regularly are far more effective than big efforts done occasionally. The body feels safe before the mind or spirit can relax. That's key. Simple practices are placing both feet on the floor and gently pressing them down for 20 or 30 seconds. Feeling your feet, feeling the vibration, the pulse, the tingling on the bottoms of your feet as it connects with the vibration of Mother Earth. Sitting with your back supported, noticing how your spine supports you, how you are able to have choice in moving your body to a sitting location, wrapping yourself in a big blanket or placing your hands on your chest or your belly, understanding your physical body as the container that carries you through this journey. You are not in danger right now. You are aware and awake and alert, and you have a purpose and you have a mission. This is also a great time to remember to breathe. Oftentimes we get scared, we hold our breath. There's numerous times during the day I catch myself just holding my breath, and I don't even know why. Focused breathing, inhaling through the nose for a count of 4, holding it for a count of 2, and then exhaling through the mouth for a count of 6. Pause for 1 or 2 seconds before you start the cycle again. And if counting feels stressful or too much, just simply lengthen the exhale slightly more than the inhale. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the exact count or exactly how I've said to do it. This is about slowing down and remembering to breathe, to be present in your body. And you can repair the etheric energy body. When stress erodes the energetic boundaries, visualize a soft but resilient field of light surrounding your body, about arm's length out. Imagine this field becoming smooth and intact and responsive. It's not a fixed or a hard circle. It's kind of this nice, easy flow of cloud-like energy that moves around you. And the etheric body responds quickly. Its intention is to calm the presence. So you'll be surprised how quickly it responds. And you can also smooth the emotional body. You don't need solutions. It needs permission to move. Name what you're feeling without explanation. I'm noticing fear. I'm noticing sadness. I notice numbness. Then place a hand on your heart or your belly while naming it. You don't need to ask why. Just acknowledge that is it. I'm feeling this. And emotions can feel overwhelming. And if it feels overwhelming to name your emotions, then shorten this practice to just 30 seconds. This works because emotions metabolize when witnessed, without judgment. Suppression prolongs the stress, but gentle acknowledgement releases it. And how do we unhook the mental body from the stress loop? Well, when the mind is stuck in threat perception, grounding means reducing input. Take intentional breaks from news and social media. Write your worries down once and then close the notebook. Ask one stabilizing question, such as, what is actually required of me today? And avoid asking the big existential questions when stressed. The mind cannot access higher truth while it's in this survival mode. But this works because the mental body regains flexibility when it no longer is tasked with solving everything at once. And how do we reconnect the spiritual body? Well, that's through stillness. Spiritual connection returns when the system feels safe, not when it's chased. A good practice is to sit quietly with no agenda, nothing that needs to be done. Just sit for 5 minutes. Spend time in nature without interruption. Listen to music or vibration when trying to heal. Or offer a simple statement rather than a request. I am open to support. Just as I reached out to the Ascended Masters and asked for help, you too have that ability to reach out to beyond and ask for help. If you're struggling right now, it doesn't mean you're broken, you're failing, or spiritually disconnected. It means your system has been working very, very hard to keep you safe. And grounding is not escaping chaos. It's about becoming steady enough to move through it. Steadiness begins with listening. So in times of chaos, the work is not to become stronger. It's to become more present with your energy fields. Because when you are whole and healed and you are aware of your energy field, because you are part of the collective consciousness of all energy, you contribute that energy to all. Because presence restores regulation, and regulation restores clarity, and clarity restores choice. I leave you today with a blessing from my heart and the messages from those wisdom keepers that I asked to be present with us. May you all be blessed, safe, calm, grounded. Feel the love of those around you at all times. I'm Lori Wondra of Your Life Core, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to Messages from the Universe. For information about Lori Wondra's current events or to schedule a private session, visit her website, yourlifecore.com. You can also subscribe to her monthly newsletter. Lori also shares inspirational and informational messages on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening.